Hello and welcome to WAWOW, Who and What's On Where, presented by me, Ruth Curtis. Today I hope to dispel some of the fears roleplay may hold for you. And no, we're not talking about getting dressed up in fancy costumes or playing outlandish characters. Roleplay is often more about being yourself. Someone who knows far more about this than I do is the magnificent Gerri Farrell, founder member of Centre Stage, who, to quote their own website, are a leading provider of experiential learning techniques. Welcome to WAWOW, Gerri.
Hi.
What do you find are most people's fears of being involved in a role-play exercise?
It's really common when we chip up and people say, there's some actors here, we're going to do role play. You can almost see them wanting to run out of the room. I think they're frightened of being humiliated, or that they're not going to do it right, or that they're not an actor. And actually, we're not asking them to act, we're asking them to be themselves.
Be themselves, but in a prescribed situation?
Yeah.
Right. And how do they learn from doing that?
What happens is we'll go through a scenario with them, or indeed a situation that's actually real to them, a conversation that they maybe are going to have that's difficult or tricky. And what the role player can do very well, and you've been one of them.
I have, I confess I have.
She has. Is give real specific behavioural feedback. So it's like a real insight into what effect they're having on people. So when you did that, that made me behave like that. That's why you're getting that reaction. And maybe let's just try adjusting it a little bit, or using a different question, or adjusting your body language maybe.
So what ways is role play used in what different situations?
All sorts of things. It goes all across the board. We do an awful lot around assessment and development.
Right.
So it's recruitment and developing people internally. A lot of support for different types of courses, interview skills, coaching, performance management, appraisals, diversity awareness. We also do some of our own standalone products. So
what is diversity awareness? What do you mean by diversity?
Diversity is just a different mix of people in the workplace, but also with the aspect of treating people with dignity and respect. Obviously, we cover off, 7 strands of diversity, and the Disability Act, all of that sort of stuff, all the legal stuff. But actually, our product is more about what sort of organisation do you want to work in, and we put situations in front of people that can be quite extreme. But it's what we like to call disturb people's thinking.
Ooh.
And just get people talking
about
the issues.
So by disturbing them, they then can learn because it's affected them.
Absolutely.
What sort of organisations do you actually work for, as in what your client base?
Again, it's a real wide range. We do an awful lot for the public sector, both government organisations, a lot for the NHS, a lot of leadership work with the NHS. But yeah, the mobile phone industries, all sorts of companies, retail, construction.
So if you were having to kind of like pitch the services of Centre Stage to any business, what would be the things? What are the things that you stress?
The things we stress are that we can make people do things differently. We can get them thinking about how they can manage people better. And obviously an actor's skills are in observing behaviour, looking at those little changes that might make things go more smoothly. And I think that's what our skill is really, and that specific feedback again that you really don't get the opportunity to get all the time.
Now you are an actor as well, of course,
yes.
As I found out that you're actually in a play at the moment.
I am.
You're in a production of Wuthering Heights?
Yes, and it's my first play for 5 years because we've been so busy.
Wow.
So it's been really lovely.
Opening night last night?
Yes,
How did it go?
It went really well, yeah. It was a little bit nervy at the beginning because, as I said, 5 years is a long time. But then once it started, we fairly bowled along. It was lovely. I really enjoyed it.
And what character do you play?
I play Nellie Dean, the housekeeper that works at both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange.
How long has it taken you to practice saying that?
It was a nightmare. But yeah, I've managed it now.
Who directs it?
It's a lady called Jess Hadley, who's a very young new director, hugely enthusiastic, really creative, and it's just been a pleasure to work with her, really.
So where have you been performing? Where were you last night?
At Southfield Park in Bracknell, one of the biggest art centres in the country, and their lovely little studio theatre there, which was, you know, not been in there for a long time either, performing, so...
Is that near where Centre Stage is based?
Well, our offices are actually in Southfield Park.
It's cheating, really, isn't it?
Well, not really. I mean, it's full circle because I met some of my fellow directors there in community theatre many years ago. So it's like we've sort of come home, really.
Great. Now, I'm going to ask you, I ask all of my guests to let me have the question that they don't often get asked. So this is Gerri's. What hidden talents do you have?
I've got a couple, some of which are completely useless, and some of which have been a bit useful. I can spin a ball on my finger.
How big is the ball?
Football. And I can change fingers while I'm spinning it.
That's a little bit scary.
It's not scary, it's very impressive to young little people.
I'm sure it is.
That's what I use that for. I can type and talk at the same time.
Yeah, I can do that one too, come on.
Marvellous. And also many years ago I learnt how to wrestle.
Wow, why did you learn how to wrestle?
For a play. I did Trafford many years ago. So I was taught by a lovely Liverpudlian wrestler called Robbie Brookside.
Great name, great skill. Gerri, thank you very much indeed. To find out more about what Centre Stage are and what they can do for you or your company, please go to their website, www.cstage.co.uk. Now, a brief interlude. WAWOW loves busting myths, and here are 7 myths about our brains you probably thought were true.
Get the book at asapscience.com. The brain is amazing and complex, but our lack of understanding has led to a great variety of myths throughout the years. Like, bigger is better. While this may be true for some other organs, you only need to look at a sperm whale's brain, which is nearly 6 times larger than that of a human's, to see this myth fall apart. Yes, they're certainly intelligent animals, but their cognitive skills pale in comparison to our own. Had a fun night out? Don't worry, alcohol doesn't actually kill your brain cells. Although it does cause damage and creates problems conveying messages between neurons, the damage is mostly reversible. Similarly, drugs don't actually create holes in your brain. Though some can permanently change your brain's functionality and structure, the only thing that can put a hole in your brain is physical trauma. Good thing you have 100 billion brain cells. Or not. Surprisingly, it wasn't until 2009 that scientists discovered the true number to be closer to 86 billion. Sure, it may seem like a small difference, but those 14 billion neurons are equal to the size of an entire baboon brain. To further put those numbers in perspective, consider that 1 million seconds is 12 days, while 1 billion seconds is 31 years. So that 14 billion neuron difference may not be so small after all. Regardless, we can't use them all, right? Most movies and sci-fi books have us believe that humans can only use around 10% of our brain, which is absolute nonsense. Thanks to modern brain scanning technology, we know that we use the whole thing all the time. Not necessarily all at once. When you're walking, for instance, the parts of the brain associated with movement are more active than other areas. However, there is no part of the brain that simply doesn't do anything. It represents 3% of the body's weight and uses 20% of its energy. That's a busy brain. But we generally use one side more than the other, right? Nope. While you may have been convinced that if you're more logical or analytical, you're more left-brained, and if you're more creative or intuitive, you're more right-brained, it's simply not true. While different sides of the brain are indeed used for specific functions, for example, language uses the left hemisphere while the right hemisphere helps to read emotion, studies on thousands of individuals have found no evidence of a left or right dominance in individuals. In other words, you use both sides equally. And you don't actually have 5 senses like you were always told. In fact, you have a lot more, like nociception, which is the sense of pain, and proprioception, the sense of how our bodies are positioned, not to mention the sense of balance, temperature, and passing of time. Scientists at GE's Global Research Centers are collaborating with top researchers and institutions to uncover new insights about the brain's functionality. If you're interested in debunking more myths or understanding more about the brain, you can follow their progress at GE Reports as they work together to crack the brain's greatest mysteries. Special thanks to GE for supporting this episode of ASAP Science, and subscribe for more weekly science videos.
I sense the time has come to thank Gerri Farrell again. And you for watching. You can contact WAWOW via Facebook or our website, wawow.co.uk, or send me a tweet. Until next time, have fun and keep up the WAWOW factor. We're going to, aren't we?
Definitely.